Hey, it's us. Once and always again. I'm JT. Got my homeboy with me. Say something, Mike B.
What it do?
We're here for another Iyanla Fix My Life episode. What's the title of this?
Family of Lies Part 2.
Family Lies?
Family of Lies Part
Family
2.
of Lies Part 2. It's Mother Alicia and her 6 daughters. We pick up from episode 1 to episode 2 with her talking to Iyanla and basically telling her story.
Alicia?
Yes, Alicia, the mother. And, you know, she gives a little bit more in depth of her being molested by the family. I'm of family. I don't know if it's family or a family friend. I think it's a family.
She says like it's a relative.
A relative, yeah.
But she kept referring to it, which was weird to me. They kept referring to it as a Shay's friend, which that's Shay is your daughter.
Or they just say bleep. You know,
they never said that. Well, I think they kept saying the name.
Yeah, but they bleeped it out.
Yeah. So we don't know who this person is, but they know who.
He part of the family.
Yeah,
we know that, and we found out, I guess, at 3rd grade. That's when she got molested, and she was like, you know, how they get in contact with you, you know, during this time, and she like he used to just wait for me like at school
and sneak into a room,
or sneak into a room, you know, and that's how, you know, that's how things occurred, and she was like, did you tell anybody? And she said, well, the family knew about what was going on, which, you know, kind of takes the wind out your sail. Yeah. You know, when you know, a little third was an 8 or 9 year old getting molested, and you know this, and the relative or family friend is still around.
But I feel like we this is the story. This is what we hear all the time. Like children being molested, and then like little girls getting molested. Then they go and tell their mom. Maybe it's the mother's boyfriend or whatever. They go and tell the mom, and the mom's like, "You lying," and they don't believe it. Mm-hmm. But she said the family knew. The family knows now. Maybe she didn't tell them back then.
It seemed like she was alluding to, like, you know, they knew when around the time it was happening,
but didn't believe her,
or it was, you know, it happened, and we just gonna sit it under the rug type deal, you know, and that it seemed like that's how it was.
I feel like that's even now. That's kind of how it is in families. Mm-hmm. Especially when it's coming from a relative or a close family friend, because people don't want to ruffle the feathers. People don't want to act, because once you know, you have to actually deal with it. You have to actually deal with it. That's what people don't want to do.
And the comfortability of being around certain people get strained when, you know, once truth comes out. But they lived with it. Or she lived with it, or, you know,
she didn't have a choice. I blame the relatives. I blame the family who knew it was going on.
I think she was with her father, right, when this happened, or was it?
It started at her grandparents' house, and then she moved with her father, and he found her over her father's house as well.
He used to wait for me at school,
and she even said, like, you know what? I ain't really come here for this, you know, as far as my healing. I came to, I guess, heal my relationship with my daughters, not realizing how important what her healing affects your daughters.
Your daughters. You the reason, actually, why your daughters are here.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, she asked her, like, when did you, she went to another subject, like, when did you realize, like, you didn't want your daughter, or when you realized you didn't want to be a mother? Mm-hmm. And she was like, with Precious and Bianca. And that kind of gave us a clue into, as far as Precious, because it kind of concentrated on her. We realized that. Go ahead.
Well, she was saying, you know, the family knows about, you know, her molestation, and that's the family that Precious is with. Like, she turned her daughter over to that family, and so that's when you kind of push pause and look at her kind of sideways, like. You knew what you went through, and you decided to allow your daughter. Maybe she didn't make it seem like she didn't have a choice.
But she was saying she
didn't want to be a mother. But you didn't want to be a mother. But you still have to think about the safety and the livelihood of this young baby.
But once you make that declaration that you don't want to be a mother, I don't think that care
is
in the cards for what she was how she felt at that time.
But she already had two other kids.
That don't mean that I got two and I'm done. That's just like So I know some people that had babies and they had a third one or a fourth and they give them up for adoption.
But even giving it up for adoption is different to me.
But I think it was to the point where I ain't gonna say she didn't give a damn. But
I feel like you have to say she didn't give a damn because you turned your child over to the family or the people
and she
that
just
molested you. So you knew what your daughter was going to go through.
She didn't want them.
Not only did you not want them, but you didn't give a shit about them. That's what this proves.
Their welfare, but you still dealing with a teenage mind though, a molested teenage mind. Yeah. And we find out that she was, of course, she was raped and molested when she was younger. Plus, she was molested when she was older,
because last episode she told us about some type of molestation that she
when she was older. But when she was talking about this
is third grade.
This is about when it first the first encounter of being taken advantage of, and so that and that's what I was thinking. I'm like, so I didn't know the depth of what was going on. I'm like, when she's older, I'm like, wouldn't she have some type of reasoning or logic?
Because we didn't know about the molestation that happened when she was younger.
No, but
and that's when Iyanla, after she asked about when you realized you don't want to be a mom, she was like with the third and fourth child. What was it, Marcia and Markel? Then she said, "Does Shay know about what happened to you? Like, does she know your story?" And the mother made it seem as if she talked to some of the kids about what she went through. Mm-hmm. I don't know if she gave them all the details, but she said Shay doesn't know.
She I don't know about the molestation. I know she said something about her drug use. But as far as
no, they didn't know about the drug use.
No, her kids later on they did say they knew about the drug use, but I think it was Marcia and the youngest one. They said we knew you took drugs, but we didn't know you was taking drugs while you were pregnant, whatnot. But I don't know if they knew the story of her being molested and all of that. I don't think she. Who knows? Cause damn it, she kept and keeps on keeping, stuff that she thinks her daughters should know or shouldn't worry about. It shouldn't pertain to their livelihood or what's going on with their lives.
See, that's what I was saying. Like she would have a conversation with one of them and assume that the conversation's been had with all of them. Yeah. So like there was a lack of communication there.
Yeah, they probably told their sisters. They
they all. I told one, they all know.
Yeah.
But she eventually agreed. She said she would have the conversation with Shay because Iyanla felt that was important. But before that happened, Alicia talking with Shay, Iyanla talked with Marcia and Shay. Marcia and Shay. I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, Marcia and Shay, and they sat them down like, why
y'all keep going at each other?
And Marcia said, you sound like mommy. When you yell at me and you basically degrade me or you say something about me, I feel like
that hurts me.
Yeah, and we find out she's really the I ain't gonna say docile or the timid one, but she's the one that that seems like she gets hurt easy.
Fragile.
Yeah, she's fragile. Thank you for that word. She seems more fragile than all the other girls. It doesn't take much for her. And Shay was like, I thought y'all had it good.
Yeah. You didn't have the same mama that I had. You didn't go through the bullshit. By the time, she had a job, like she was doing what she's supposed to do as a mother. But with me, she's doing drugs. She's leaving all the time. She was saying like days and weeks at a time. And I'm having to step up as a child and mother babies. I don't know nothing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'm 6 or 7 and I'm
making bottles,
and for my little sisters and whatnot.
So and I could understand holding that type of resentment against a relative or your sibling because you didn't ask for this. You don't know what you're doing, but the pressure is on you to make sure that they make sure they survive.
And Iyanla's like, she said she felt like since you didn't give like approval for taking care of your sisters by your mother, you wanted you from felt, you owe me. I'm the reason you alive right now.
She
made the anger towards the sisters, and the sisters were like,
why me? It don't make sense.
I think you mean, damn it,
right?
You know what? And old chick like, you don't know what I've been through. she told a story about her and the man that was it her father or the molester that was going tug of war with her.
She said a name, but they bleeped it out. So I don't know.
It was a male. They were fighting over. It seemed like it would be her father. Okay. It seemed like, and they, the male had the legs and the mama had the arms, and they were pulling her back and forth. And Shay was like, I'm seeing this. I can't do nothing.
Right. I'm trying to tell them to stop, but all I can do is really cry and yell. But they're grown, so yeah, I'm a child. What can I do?
And so they bring the mother in while they're still with Shay and Marcia, and she was like, "Well, Alicia, the mother, you got to tell your story to the two, at least your oldest daughter. Yeah. She's the one that's been with you the most, basically." And she said, "Well, it all started when I got molested by Bleak, and we know that Shay's good friend, and that was
again." Shay's good friend, but a relative of the mom.
Yeah,
it wasn't making sense to me. But then Shay initially said, once she heard it, she said, "Interesting."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Is that like? Do you not believe your mom?" Like the response was weird.
I think it was a cover up.
Yeah, well, we saw that. But I'm saying before Iyanla was like, "Hold on."
When she first said it, interesting. I'm like, did she get molested too? Or
I had that
thought like, okay, but then she was friends, but you don't know how that way, I don't know how it goes. And so she was like, interesting, and then like she was like, well, watch this. Did you know?
Iyanla was like, my love, like
how does
tell me what's going on?
Now you just heard this information,
and she broke all the way down.
She was done.
Yeah,
for the rest of the day.
Yeah, starting at that point. She was done saying, "I don't want to do this." What was weird to me in this moment was that the other sister, Marcia, was watching this play out, and she was hearing what happened to her mom, and she didn't seem to have any type of response. Maybe she knew. That's why I felt like she knew about this situation.
I thought she didn't know. She didn't know who the dude was, or she didn't have a connect with the dude.
No, but it ain't about the dude.
Or the whole
It's about
situation.
your mom. You just found out that your mom was raped or molested by whoever. That would make me feel some type of way.
I think she says, I don't want to judge her. I think she took
I don't think that's judging. I feel like that's being sympathetic that somebody that and you love and you care for, even though y'all don't have that type of relationship, went through something so traumatic.
But then again, they didn't have that type of relationship, so she ain't just gonna break down when she hears that information.
I just feel like maybe I'm just thinking that women would feel this type of way hearing that another woman went through this. And this is your mom, somebody you know. Y'all may not have that type of relationship, but you know her.
But
and you
just
want
because
that type
you know
of
her
relationship.
don't mean you can still be disconnected, might be, and live in the same house.
That's true. I feel like that's kind of what we saw going on with them.
Emotions wouldn't really seem like rampant around in their household.
But her though, the fact that she feels some type of way at them talking, like you yelling, it hurts me. She's emotional.
But I think she knows. I think it hurts more with her sister because I think she knows her and been around her sister more, and she feels it more. I can expect this from Mama. Mm. But you doing it to me, it reminds me of her. Mm-hmm. And so I feel hurt and more deeply, involved because it's from you. You my caretaker. I've grown up with you. It's not the mama. Like the older sister said, I was their mother for a period of time. And so that's why I think, she really wasn't, I think she accepted her mother. When she said, I really don't judge her, okay. I put her on that mode. I don't think she has that emotional connection.
I understand that. It just to me made me feel like she already knew this information about her mom.
She could have known, but it hurt more with the sister. Yeah.
And I felt Shay didn't know this, and the person that did it is somebody that she's good friends with.
Yeah, and so that kind of ended that. That conversation because Shay, couldn't take it. Mm-hmm. And so she said, let your sister take care of you. They went up and she went up to the room and just bawled her eyes out. And
did you notice like Shay, like at times she could be so like not really angry, but she can like come at you. Like she came at her sister the other day, like, no, don't be talking to me like that or whatever. But then in this moment she reverted back to a child.
It's a defense mechanism, She's the oldest, and she gotta act. She has to have some type of shield. She's the protector, and so you can't be vulnerable, And so I think that's just her.
That's just how I feel like that's how
she coming at
Yeah.
A lot of people have walls and defense mechanisms. It don't take much. You can be passive aggressive, and we don't know when you're gonna tick off.
Right.
You think everything cool for a while, and it can be anything. Just like you said, look at Shay hug mama, and that's all it took for her.
And she flipped out. Yeah.
And so of course she found out about the molestation. So they bring us back inside the house. The sisters they console Shay out on the lawn. She's still crying and whatnot. And they take her back. They go back into the house, and all the sisters are there around the table with the mother. And I think was she talking to Shay? Was it Shay? I had to look at my notes.
What are you?
Okay, I think Shay was she still broken up?
Shay was still emotional, even when they went into the house.
I know before they went to the house, she told her okay, you got to do something different because all this crying, it can only last. I to myself, I'm thinking, she's saying, it can only last for so long. You got to do something different. You got to stand up. Basically, as a man say to another man, do some push-ups. But at the same time, no, digest what you know, and don't pick another option than is crying. Evaluate what's going on. It's okay to cry, but
let's
get through this.
Yeah.
Let's do something different. Take it all in, and move forward. Let's just not stay in this weeping place.
But I mean, she also mentioned that she was sad at the fact that her friend.
Yeah, that she's losing
like this. Yeah,
all the emotions came at one time.
And having to process this.
My mother got molested by a close friend.
Yeah, I would definitely be I would be angry, and I would Iyanla, do you have a gun? Because I'll be going after that person. But that's just me.
But she said she was mad at her mama, and when they was around the table, she said I'm feeling hurt, and I feel upset at both of them.
Right.
And I can see that too, because he did the deed,
and then the mama
not sharing or not saying nothing,
and then allowing me to grow up and get close to this person,
and thinking it's okay,
and it could have happened to me.
Yes,
and we find out that it happened to another daughter. Precious felt some type of way that she heard about her mom, but she said it doesn't surprise me because it happened to her from the same damn relative. And again, it goes back to me asking the question: why would you? And I know you explained it, but I'm still like. I don't buy that bullshit that you would go through this yourself and then turn your daughter of all people, over to this family who did such vile things to you, and it happened to your daughter. So, for some, I wanted to see more emotion from the mom, more like regret and her feeling some type of way. Maybe you grew up, I know,
you can
but still,
things.
She was on drugs, and she had a hard life, and. I wanted her to be more remorseful at what happened to you. Y'all have a relationship or y'all talk or something now. So you can at least show now that you give a damn about what they went through. Even though you could have did things differently when you were growing up. You could have helped change the situation. That didn't happen. But in this moment, I wanted more. We did see some tears.
But she's still in that place though. She haven't moved from that place.
I understand that. That's not what I'm saying.
I know you want. That's what you want. But that's not what he is.
Right. I saw it. But I'm just saying what I would have wanted to see.
And Iyanla told her when she was still from the scene before when Shay and Marcia went up to the room. She told her, the two words you need to say to
Alicia.
To Alicia. She said that about Alicia. The two words you need to say to your daughters is just forgive me.
Yeah.
That's the only thing you can say right now because right now,
it's too much hurt, it's too much pain, too much going on.
Yes.
And Iyanla recognized that Alicia has she tries to excuse everything or like brush it to the side, like that's not really what it is, and that kind of irritated me too on this episode. Because your daughters are broken. I understand you are broken as well.
She's still trying to defend herself. Like you're not actually listening. This is their experience of what's going on, and you're still trying to defend.
Iyanla said whether you see it as truth or not.
Yeah,
this is what they experienced or how they experienced you. Just listen.
And so Precious, of course, Precious told us, well, what's going on, or how she felt, and she said, I wish that you would have had an abortion with me, and that's, man, that pricked my heart a little bit, like when somebody tell you just, they wish that they weren't even born, they have that much hurt and animosity towards you. Mm-hmm. For you could have made this all better with however decisions that you made, but you did this, and now it makes me feel this way, mm-hmm. and I'm just like you. I got 7 kids. I'm just like you, and I wasn't even a part of you, mm-hmm. really, growing up.
Right, but I still went through the same things you went through.
Just like you. That's weird how that happens. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, kids, they may be estranged from their father or mother,
right?
But they end up being the same way. Mm-hmm. That's crazy, man.
And then we heard Alicia say, eventually she said, Precious told me that she was molested, but she didn't say exactly who did it. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, did you even ask? For some reason, I don't even think she asked.
No,
she just said, you know what, and probably moved on. Changes up, because that would have been an opportunity for you two to actually sit down and talk.
It seemed like she just gave her a little.
It's gonna be all right.
And
I felt some type of way about it, and I didn't really realize it as I was watching the episode. Mm-hmm. But as we're talking about it, I'm realizing it now that I felt some type of way about Alicia.
Okay.
Even though I understand that she had her issues growing up, mm-hmm. but. Just seeing, everybody doesn't know how, like, the right words to say or how to respond to people or how to make it right.
The tools.
Yes. But that's why you're here. Mm-hmm. And then we saw that little argument she got into with Shay, where Shay was trying to explain, again, how she experienced her mom. Mm-hmm. And Alicia got upset.
She didn't want to hear her truth.
She didn't want to hear it.
And she's like, well, and while Shay was talking, she's like, I'm not talking about what I just know. It's our relationship before
because I
today.
Just found that other stuff.
Yeah, but you wronged me before
way back when.
And I tried to tell you something, you don't want to talk, and it seemed like that was the thing with all the girls. Like we try to talk, or you don't want to give us any information. Mm-hmm. We can't connect.
Right.
You don't want any connection with us. They think you, and Iyanla's like, they think that you don't love them.
Right.
Like you don't care.
I would.
Which her actions said so. Mm-hmm. And so and she went on defense mode when Shay was telling her what's going on with her, and she was like, "All right, I'm done with this," and it seemed like we found out who the real Alicia was. We found out what the girls know, or how they saw their reality.
We experienced it, and she was also going off on Marcia, talking about how she was so rebellious or whatever, and like mm-hmm. you lying right now, and like she was just trying to explain.
Iyanla, I know her. You don't know her.
Yeah.
This is what she do all the time, and just like ungrateful type, mm-hmm. and
it wasn't making any sense, and it didn't seem like it was warranted. But maybe in Alicia's defense, she has experienced this all the time, mm-hmm. and maybe Marcia is passive aggressive and she's angry, but then when they're in front of people, she doesn't show that side. She acts all meek and humble, and that would piss me off. But in mm-hmm. this moment when you guys are trying to work with each other, you don't get up from the table and just, I'm done with this. You sit down and you make it work, because it hasn't been working up until now. And you see what it's done to all of your daughters.
Yeah.
And you see what you're still dealing with. You're learning what you're still dealing with, even though you try to brush it to the side. It's not gone. It's still there, and it's festering, and it's living in your daughters.
Yeah, like Iyanla said, while they were sitting there, she like, tell your daughters your testimony.
Yeah.
Give them all of it.
Everything.
That's the only way, and it seemed like, and she's like, well, I was molested, and forgive me. And that was it. Mm-hmm. Like, she's like, and Iyanla was like, no.
Like, go deep. Like, tell them what you had to sit in, like what you had to go through, everything.
And that's when Marcia and the youngest one, Markel,
yeah.
Markel find out. She was like, well, I was a drug addict, and I did, and they found out that she did drugs while they were she was pregnant with those. Yeah. So they was like, well, I knew she did drugs, but I didn't know that while you were pregnant.
Yeah.
You didn't divulge that information to me at all.
Right.
And Young's like, that
This is the problem. Like you feel like you having all these conversations with the kids,
but maybe they don't know.
She was drunk or high, and she was talking in her sleep, thinking she's talking to her kids.
I guess she said I molested and that was it, and went out the door. Like she was instead of saying I'm gone, I got molested
and left
and burnt out. Cause it seemed like they only knew the title of the subject, but didn't know the meat of it.
That's like reading the headlines of a newspaper article.
She was giving them headlines, and didn't give them no background, and so they just living furiously. And that's it.
And again, I just even watching this episode, for some reason I kept feeling like Shay was gonna say, "This person did that to me."
I thought when she said interesting, that came to my mind. I'm like,
and even when she was just sitting there at the table, just kind of like not trying to pay attention to what they were talking about, but she was still listening.
Like something happened between that person
on her to speak.
I don't know. Maybe the third episode would tell us that. That's pretty much what happened. In the second episode of Iyanla, we find out the mama, she blowing up. I don't want to do this. She goes up to the room. She said I could leave. Call my driver. She's ready to go. I'm ready because this for the birds basically. I ain't got to deal with it, and the girls are just there, and it seemed like they're like, yep,
typical mama.
We knew this gonna happen. We knew it was gonna pop off, and it seemed like all of them just they waiting,
right? And they want this. They want this. They want to heal. They want this relationship with their mom. And mom is finding every reason, every avenue to kind of back out of this because she's afraid of what might happen if she gets a breakthrough.
Iyanla called them little ducklings, and that's how it seemed like that's how they were. They was waiting on mama to do whatever she needed to do.
How long have they been waiting on mama?
35 and under. And so episode 3, we'll find out. I know some of you probably already seen the episode.
It comes out this Saturday. So
no.
Yeah, I ain't seen
back. Yeah, I haven't seen that episode. It's interesting.
It is.
We how this is going to resolve itself. I don't know how
I'm hoping that we get this family gets some type of resolve and they were able to heal or at least begin to rebuild a relationship.
I hope my mama have some type of clarity and have some type of aha moment. It's up to me to fix my my family and my daughter's situation because they're waiting. They're waiting
and they're like yearning. This is what
yearning. They want The young one said, "I hate you. I don't want to. I felt like I don't want to live." But she the one that embraced it the most.
The most. Oh, you talking about Precious?
Precious, yeah. And so it seemed like the two that had the problem are the ones that they showed embracing the mother. Her and Shay, Precious and Shay. So we'll see what happens. Thank y'all for watching. Might be you got something else.
No, sir.
Till next time.
Peace.